Alrighty, hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Teardown. Now I'm bringing this series onto my main channel, but it's going to be different. Obviously the gaming channel is for gaming stuff, so the Tears takedowns over there are going to be more like game specific, whilst this one is going to be completely other things, like cooking, sports, and just literally anything that's not really gaming. Alright, so for today we got our 2021/2022 Premier League predictions. So, right now, obviously, season just ended. Man City crowned champions. Congrats to them. We got 3 new teams coming up, and it's exciting. I'm excited for another season because obviously last season, COVID, a little weird, you know, just crazy results all year round. A lot of injuries too, and just everything was the best. So, you know what? I think this season people are going to be back in form. Teams are going to actually, you know, I think it's going to be easier to predict this year. But then again, it's football. You never know what happens. Alrighty, let's not waste any more time. We're going to start off with our bottom category, relegation. So here are obviously the teams that we got this year. The newly promoted side, Brentford, Norwich, and Watford. Everything's updated. And we're going to start off with relegation. Now, the bottom 3 teams that I think will be relegated. This is hard. For me, this category, relegation and escaping relegation, I essentially, when I was roughly planning it, I put 6 teams there. And I just couldn't make up my mind on which 3 to put at the bottom and which 3 to put just escaping. So we're just going to go quickly and just, you know, let's rip off the band-aid and put 3 teams that I think will be at the bottom. Firstly, I'm going to put Brentford. Now, you're going to say, all right, Tony, amazing season. Fair enough. He played amazing. Top goal scorer, I believe. Let me check how many. 32 goals in 48 games. Stunning season. Then again, you have to remember it's this championship level. Where did Brentford finish? Brentford finished 3rd, about 10 points behind Norwich and 4 points behind Watford. Now, they did go on the last 5 games, essentially were 1 draw and 4 wins. Good for them. Hopefully they can carry it into the next season. But then this, I don't know, it was very heavy on, essentially, if I look at the second top scorer for Brentford's second top scorer is Sergi Canos. And he has 9 goals. It's kind of sad. So it's essentially very heavy on Ivan Toney up front. So, and he only finished 21st, Sergi, in the top scorer rank. What about top assists? Brentford, Toney again carrying that. And yeah, honestly, it's I feel like when you say Brentford, apart from him, nothing really like comes to mind, right? I obviously didn't watch Championship that much, but I had to do a little bit of like looking back into the game fixtures and everything. So this is why I'm putting Brentford as one of the bottom 3. We'll rank them specifically once we have the bottom 3. Now, this also, transfer market's a big thing. So maybe later on down the transfer market, One of these tier lists. And, you know, maybe a lot of these teams will be dependent on whether or not they sell their star players. All right. Anyways, let's keep moving on. All right. Brentford is my first out of the 3 relegation teams. Secondly, I'm going to put Watford. Now, Watford has been consistently in the Prem, always going down and then back up, and their run of form lately has not been too bad with Troy Deeney coming back into form and all that. But unfortunately, I just don't know. Like, apart from Ismail Sarr, they didn't really have another strong goal scorer. Like, Ismail Sarr came 12th in the top scorer charts with 13 goals, but he was their standout player by far. And for me, if he stays, Watford have a chance of escaping the relegation. If he doesn't, I don't know, but it's also, I know they're demanding about like 80 million for him if he is the transfer. So I don't know, it's going to be tough. I feel like maybe a couple signings could bolster them out of here, but I'm putting them at the bottom for now. Now, my last relegation team is not one of the newly promoted side. Norwich is not the last team I'm putting there. I'm putting Burnley. Where's Burnley? For me, Burnley, many seasons now, have been essentially really fighting for that relegation escape battle. They finished last season 17th, so they did finish 11 points above the relegation zone, but the bottom 3 teams were quite weak compared to the other ones, especially in terms of form and everything. For me, Burnley were lucky to get away with a couple decent results, like the win at Liverpool. And I don't know, it's just Sean Dyche's style. It's not necessarily as effective as it was before, and So I'm going to put them in a relegation battle, and I think they're going to finish probably at the top of the relegation, with Brentford finishing last and Watford coming second. This is going to be very tight between, I think these bottom six, we're going to actually have a decent scrap and no like 3 clear outcasts. Moving on to next part of our tier, we got escaping relegation. So this is 15th, 16th, and 17th. Now here I put Norwich as one of them, newly promoted side. It also depends on if they sell their star man. Now there are ties to Arsenal, obviously, for Buendia, but he's had an insane season. Honestly, he finished top assists with 16 assists, and he finished 9th with goals, 15 goals, 16 assists in 39 games. Honestly, pretty insane. Standout player for Norwich. Obviously, Timo Pukki you got there also as a goal scorer for them. If he gets back to the start he did last season in the Prem, was it 2 years ago, where he would finish player of the month in the first month, they have a chance. I think the form at the start of the season is going to be crucial for these teams. For instance, we'll talk a little bit more, like example Southampton. The reason why I think they stayed up is their early form. But in my opinion, I think Norwich will be just escaping relegation, and also it's dependent on whether or not they keep Buendia. If they do, probably still within this region. If they don't, I might even move them down and replace like Watford with Norwich, or Burnley even with Norwich. That's just my opinion. All right, next up, I'm putting Brighton here. Several seasons now, Brighton has just escaped the relegation. They've got a lot of decent players though. Mopai is good. Lamptey was good. Unfortunately, he got injured, obviously, so you couldn't really see the full potential of Brighton. But they also have a lot of, what's his name? In their midfield, Bissouma. I personally really enjoy watching him. He's literally a workhorse. He reminds me a little bit of Idrissa Gueye in a way that he's always like super everywhere around the pitch. So I think a couple key players will be the reason why Brighton stays up. They're also a really solid team. I like watching them on the counterattack. And yeah, I just think they're going to escape relegation zone, but it's going to be close. It's going to be close with these 6 teams. My last team that I put in the relegation zone is Southampton. Now, for me, Southampton, their early form of the season really helped them. I think most of the big clubs struggled, especially the long Champions League runs and all that. And it's just recovering from, like, the pandemic was really tough with a lot of, like, teams getting injuries, right? Southampton's early season was absolutely insane. They were doing so damn well. Obviously, they have star players like James Ward-Prowse, who came 6th in most passes, actually. And, okay, they may not, like, top the charts in either clean sheets, assists, or goals, but they have good players. They have Che Adams, young and promising. Now, obviously, it depends on the form of these players. If players like Che Adams show up, James Ward-Prowse show up, or Danny Ings show up, then, potentially bottom mid-table even. But I think Danny Ings, if he can get another good season in him, that would be really good. I don't know, Danny Ings, throughout his career, has not been the most consistent of players. Hopefully, he can carry his form from 2020/2021 season into 2022. And I think these guys will be able to escape relegation. Now, in terms of ordering, I'm going to put Norwich last, dependent on if Buendia is sold. I'm going to put Southampton and... I'm going to put... I think Southampton have a bit more... Do they have a better squad? I think they have a slightly better squad than Brighton, so I'm going to put them there. Alright, moving on to the bottom mid-table. Now, this obviously looks at 11, 12, 13, 14, so we're going to be picking 14. Now, these 6, for me, are the clear bottom ones, but there's one more team that I could have made an argument for, and that's Crystal Palace. Straight up, I think this is the weakest teams out of the bottom mid-table category, just because they always seem to be there, but they always seem to, like, disappoint. You always expect them to push a little bit more, like around 10th in the table, but they just never seem to. You got obviously star players, Zaha, and then now you gotta let's look at their injury situation, because when did Eze get injured? Let's see, Eze, 6 months. Now 6 months in May. That means he's gonna skip practically the whole. A third of, like, maybe half the season of the first season. So I think that's going to be hard for them. This early season is going to be so important for these bottom teams, because if they can get good momentum into the start of the season and gain points early on, when, like, the bigger teams had, like, Champions League runs and obviously less time to prepare, I think it's crucial. Now, let's take a look at Crystal Palace, if they had any, let's see who were the best goal scorer for Crystal Palace. Let's see the full list. Crystal Palace's first player is Wilfried Zaha, obviously 11. All right, 11 goals for Wilfried Zaha, not too bad. He had a decent season. It's going to be dependent on whether or not Eze can come back fit and whether or not these guys can hold out early season. That's why I'm going to put them as the first team in the bottom mid-table. Next, we got to move on to the next team I'm going to put. Let me make sure all the recording is safe. Oh, what's this? Skipped frames. Oh, okay. Oh, should be fine. The next team I put into the bottom mid-table is Newcastle. Now, Newcastle, same idea. Couple star players. Alan Saint-Maximin, one of the most exciting players to watch. I think he is just so fun to watch. He has this form of, like, arrogance. And he's just, like... He reminds me a bit of Mane in the arrogance of the dribbling. So I think he's super fun to watch. A team that's always usually not too bad. Where did they finish last season? I believe they finished around, where's Newcastle? 12th last season, so not too bad. Bottom mid-table, so exactly where I'm putting them. I think they're going to have another like standard season. Mid-table. How many points to get? 45 points. Yeah, they're a little far from reaching the top 10, so I'm going to put them there. Comfortable, another comfortable, I think, mid-table season. Now, next, I'm putting Aston Villa. Now, you're probably going to think you're crazy for putting Aston Villa. They finished 11th, but their start of the season was very strong again. Yes, and this is dependent on whether or not Jack Grealish stays. If they do, I think they have the team that could push up. Watkins, McGinn, and Martinez in goal, honestly, super solid. And Tyron Mings, I think they have a really strong team. But if Jack Grealish stays, 8th to 10th, I could make an argument for it. If he doesn't, I struggle to find that argument. Because up front, apart from Watkins, you need somebody to feed him. Like McGinn, he contributed quite a bit. But the problem is that he's more of a box-to-box midfield slash like a little further back. And they need that creative outlet like with Jack Grealish. That astonishing game against Liverpool. Okay, everything did go their way, but super impressive. I think they're good. Another comfortable mid-table team. Might be top middle if they keep a couple of their good players. Now, the last team I put here is Wolves. Wolves is... I feel like last year Wolves was a bit of a letdown. I put them actually quite high up last year. I didn't obviously make a video, but I thought it would do better than they did. Obviously, they lost Nuno Esperanto. Manager left. Raul Jimenez, terrible injury that happened to him. Hopefully he can come back. But I don't know, like, they signed a couple good players, like that young Portuguese star up front. What was his name? Oh, Fabio Silva. He was highly rated. But the problem for me is he just didn't show enough for me to warrant that big transfer fee. Hopefully he can come into form this season. I know the Prem is rather hard to adapt. They have promising left backs like Ait Nouri. I believe he loaned from Angers, or is he back with Angers? I'm not actually too sure. Rui Patricio in goal, solid goalkeeper. Adama Traore also is linked away from the club, so that's going to be important. They got Pedro Neto, Podence. They have a good team, but they were a letdown last season. So for me, they're going to be they're going to be in this category, and I think Crystal Palace will be last. I think Newcastle will be here, and these two will switch depending on the Jack Grealish situation. That's my prediction. Last season, what did Wolves finish? Wolves finished 13th with like a terrible run of form in the end, 45 points. Right behind Newcastle. Once again, I think hopefully they get a new manager that's going to be able to rally the team together. And they could potentially reach mid-table. That's what I think. Next, moving on to 8th, 9th, and 10th. Now, here are the teams which I think are obviously strong contenders for like conference, maybe even Europa League. But there's just better teams like above them. I'm going to putting Everton first. For me, Everton... It's a bit of a mess, honestly. The whole entire Ancelotti situation coming in 2 years ago? And like, wow, everybody's like, Everton's going to be an exciting team. They were exciting to watch. Calvert-Lewin, James Rodriguez, Richarlison, really strong team. But then imagine you're James Rodriguez. The coach that was with you in Real Madrid tells you to come over, and then he ditches you and goes back to Real Madrid. Like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Everton, it's tough. I think they will either be bottom mid-table or 5th or 6th. I don't know. I just think Everton's a hit or miss team. They were top of the league for like a long time last season, but slowly died out near the end. The run of form is going to be super important. I'm going to predict that they finish around 8 to 10. That's my prediction for now. And the next team I'm going to put into this category is Spurs. Now, For me, Spurs, it's a little bit of a laughingstock lately, not gonna lie. Mourinho getting sacked before the final, interim coach coming in, now Conte with the whole entire wanting to sign, but then ended up not signing because he doesn't want to play with youth players. So honestly speaking, I don't know what to think or feel about this team. I'm gonna put them here, and this is one crucial factor. I would put them here if Harry Kane stays, but I think Harry Kane will leave. To where? City, United maybe. But I just, without Harry Kane, I don't think Son can single-handedly carry their attack. They got obviously Dele Alli, but he was linked out the club several times. You got Musa Sissoko, and Ndombele, I think, could have a really important season. In the back, okay, they have Reguilon, Eric Dyer. I don't know. Eric Dyer for me is a decent defender, but for a team like Spurs, I think they need a better center back. He makes for me too many errors, and I don't know. Maybe rework the defense, and you could be talking. I think Hugo Lloris is probably good for another couple seasons. Apart from that, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. Like, they need to make a marquee signing, I think, in order for this team to stand a chance. There are ties for them with Poch. Obviously, you guys can see from the back, PSG fan. I'm not too keen on the fact that Poch is even talking with other clubs when he's signed to a contract. If he leaves, honestly, so be it. If you don't want to stay and you're going to talk with other teams, just leave, right? That's kind of disrespectful. So the last team I'm going to put in 8th, 9th top table, I'm putting Leeds. Leeds, probably, hands down, the most interesting team to watch outside the top 6 or 7. Counter-attacking football, the work rate they put in is absolutely astonishing. I'm going to even put them above Spurs. I love the counter-attack. I know that they had an amazing late season with Brentford coming 4th in the Golden Boot race, 17 goals, tied with him and Son. And then you also have Rafinha with 6th on the assist list, and Ayling with the 7th most passes in the league, and Meslier with 5th clean sheet, tied with Bernd Leno, Nick Pope, and Schmeichel. I think they have a good, promising young core, but they might need to make 1 or 2 signings if they really want to propel themselves to a comfortable top 10. I think, like, Wolves, Aston Villa are fighting with these teams for this top mid-table spot. If these guys want to be comfortable, they should make, I think, another top signing, or a promising youngster would fit, I think, the Leeds style of play. Very, very hard-working. I think it would be good to sign a couple youngsters who are ready to put, like, you know, give it their all for the team. Now we're moving into the interesting territories. 7th Europa Conference League. Now this spot is essentially like the first loser. I think European football is the goal for, honestly, even maybe not necessarily Leeds, but Everton and Spurs as well. They need to be aiming for these European spots. All these last remaining teams have the potential of making it to Europa League, at least. First team I'm putting here is West Ham. Now, West Ham, obviously, amazing run last year. Some people even wrote them off with the whole entire situation that was at the beginning of the season. They ended up finishing 6th with 65 points. So what was I saying? West Ham, good season last year. Very strong season. A lot of people wrote them off. Lingard coming in, honestly, revived them at the end of the season. Obviously, Mikel Antonio, really strong season. Declan Rice, big factor in whether or not these guys will still stay up here. They could even go down if he's sold, in my opinion. They have a strong team. Souček played very well. Kufal played very, very well as well. They have a strong, team. Many of these other teams have, solo stars down now. I'm thinking Crystal Palace. I'm thinking Newcastle. I'm thinking, I was going to say Spurs to an extent. These guys have probably one of the best, well-rounded teams along with Leeds, I think. And that's why I'm putting them quite high up. I think that's really important in a team. Consistency, and these two teams are rather more consistent than most of the other teams. So I'm going to put them in 7th. I think if they can hold on to Declan Rice, they'll be set, and they could even maybe fight again for Europa League. But I think that extended Europa League run that they're going to have to deal with will potentially impact their Premier League standings. Alright, I think that's pretty fair to say. We'll see how the transfer market develops, and then we can come back and readjust the list once we're nearing the start of the season. Alright, next up, we got Europa League spots now, 5th and 6th. I'm putting here, first I'm putting Arsenal. Now, last season was shambolic for Arsenal. 8th place, really good run of form at the end of the season, which is the only thing that saved them for not being bottom mid-table. 2 points ahead of Leeds, and they had to win 5 in a row / 6 in a row, I think, to even get there in the end. Aubameyang is really out of form. I hope he can find his form back because he just signed that multi-million deal. And Lacazette's revival near the end saved them a bit with players like Saka, Emil Smith-Rowe, who are going to be crucial for them. They're still young and promising, so this is what I like about Arsenal. A lot of their good players last year were the youngest ones. And I think they have room to grow. And I think hopefully good Euros for Saka. He's already scored. And we might be set. I think he scored in the friendly preparation games for England. So Arsenal, I'm going to give you guys the benefit of the doubt and trust the process with Arteta, but I think if the early season does not work out, I think they need a change in managerial position. They need to get Arteta out and bring a little bit more of a different style for the teams, and hopefully that will pay off for them. That's my opinion. I'm putting Arsenal 5th / 6th with the other team I'm putting them is Man U. Now, it's actually very hard. The last 6 teams, disregarding Arsenal, I could make an argument for Champions League. But I think how tight the race was, from 6th to 3rd, there's a difference of 4 points. Man U was a little ahead. I don't know. Chelsea's amazing Champions League run makes me not want to put them in Europa League. They won, because they're going to be in Champions League. But disregarding Europa League, but they're going to be 5th and 6th. Leicester are so fun to watch. A very unlucky end of the season. I think they started to struggle a little bit at the end. In their last 5 games, I can see here they lost 3 times and won once and tied, which kind of killed their chances of being Champions League. But they were set for a while, and they just signed Soumare from Soumare they just signed from Lille, I think. Really interesting player. I watched him obviously because I watched the Ligue 1. That Lille team is actually insane. They had an insane season. I think he's going to be great for them. And that's why I think they're above Man United. Man United, if Martial can find his form, I think that's crucial. Bruno Fernandes really carried them last year, but I think Man United's defense is not that strong. Their CDMs, McTominay's alright. Fred is alright with a lot of mistakes quite often. For me, that's what's shaky. You're really relying on the Bruno Fernandes coming through. They were lucky in quite a few games, just sneaking one goal difference games. I think Man United will either, I don't know, it's hard. I think they're gonna struggle with the teams that are coming back into form. But we can review once we're done, and yeah, we're gonna review once we're done and see how things go. Now 2nd to 4th, I'm gonna putting first Leicester. I'm gonna put United above Arsenal. For me, Leicester, I think I'm hoping for them for their own sake. It's one of the teams I love the most, that they managed to sneak a Champions League, run. They deserve for so long. James Maddison. They have a lot of strong, Soumare coming in, Jamie Vardy, Kasper Schmeichel in the back. Soyuncu, obviously a really, really strong season. I think he was clocked as the fastest player in the Premier League last year, which is actually absolutely insane. And I think, for me, if Yuri Tillman stay, I know there's links with him away from the club. I think they have a chance. I think they have a very strong team, and they're fun to watch. Yeah, United. I'm sorry, I'm putting Leicester above United. Maybe it's just a preference thing. I'm not the biggest fan of United. I'm more of a fan actually of Arsenal than United, but Arsenal's absolutely shambolic lately, so we're not gonna talk about it. Next, I'm gonna put Chelsea. I think Chelsea will finish 3rd, in my opinion. I think they have a very strong Champions League run, but then that pressure of winning it again and defending their title will, I think, put a bit of a toll on them. But hopefully Tuchel can, he's good with dealing with pressure. He played with PSG. Obviously, early season's gonna be crucial for them. Tuchel didn't have a great early season with PSG after that Champions League run, so maybe that's why I'm putting them 3rd instead of 2nd. I don't know. I'm getting flashbacks of how we lost essentially the league from the first 8 games of the league. Now, first 2. Obviously, we're going between Man City and Liverpool. I'm dragging one of these 2 teams down, and I think with Van Dijk coming back, Liverpool will be solid again. Their end of the season run was crazy, considering the fact that I think they had around, more than 10 different defensive partnerships. Is absolutely crazy for me. Salah and Mane, hopefully they can get back into that, you know, with the season they won was like absolutely insane. What's going on with the computer? They were absolutely insane. Hopefully they find that form back. But for me, I think Man City's a class ahead. Man City should have won the Champions League. They were the clear favorites. They bottled it themselves. Chelsea literally outclassed them 3 times, actually, funnily, last year. But I think Man City has too strong of a team for such a long duration, like over a whole entire season. I think they're just going to dominate the league again. I think it's going to be another one of those. Here's my prediction. Man City is going to either lose the title, and it's not going to be because of these teams, but because of themselves. I think it's going to finish first, second to fifth are going to be super tight. Or if these guys are not on the top form near the early season, then we can see a very promising run like we did for most of the season actually last year. And that's actually more like fun to watch and enjoyable. But that's my predictions. I think I'm pretty satisfied with what I put. And yeah, if you guys want me to do another league, do let me know in the comments. I'll be potentially doing another sport, or maybe even like once Champions League draws and all that come out, I'll do Champions League draw chances or Europa League as well. But I'm happy to do other sports as well. So do let me know in the comments what you guys want to see. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this series. I'm honestly really enjoy talking about these. You know, it allows me to express my own, I guess, opinions on most things. All right. See you all next time. Thank you for the support like always. Peace out.